So Notre Dame, they are 11-1 after their win over USC. They are winners of 10 straight in a row ever since they had that disgusting loss at home to NIU. And they've looked like a way different team since. Riley Leonard is really effective throwing the football now. He has a pretty good QBR rating. He's pretty accurate, and he's a really good runner. But their defense has been outstanding. And even before that NIU loss, their defense was playing out of this world. And Notre Dame, even though they normally don't tend to have a lot of success in the playoffs based off what they've done in the past, I believe this year could be differently. You know, I'm not saying that it's a lock. Notre Dame's going to make it to the Final Four or the national championship, but they definitely have a really good chance at doing so, especially if they get matched up in the first round where they got to go on the road to play Tennessee. They got to go on the road to play Georgia, potentially. I don't think there's too many matchups that Notre Dame could have in the first round where they don't have a chance to win. The only thing that concerns me about Notre Dame is how effective are they going to be throwing the football against a defense like Tennessee, because they are a run-heavy team, and if you take away the run game and you make them one-dimensional where they have to beat you with Riley Leonard's arm, I don't think that game will favor them. But their defense is so great with the length that they have at secondary. I was watching that USC game earlier, and one guy had a crazy interception inside the red zone. You just have this tall, long, and lanky, muscular corner. When you look at Notre Dame's defense, especially the guys in their secondary, they're just really long and super athletic. Think Sauce Gardner, but more freakishly gifted athletically. That seems to be the kind of players that Notre Dame has in their secondary. And Notre Dame, with how great their defense is, they match up well with anybody. They got great depth on the defensive line. They got great depth everywhere. Offensively, you know, I don't know if they would be able to put 30 on Georgia, but I think that their defense is good enough where there's not a single game they don't have a chance at winning unless they have to play Oregon or Ohio State. If they have to run into any of those two teams in the playoffs, I don't like the matchup. From an offensive standpoint, I don't believe they're efficient enough to beat any of those two teams. But anybody else, I think it's fair game. I could see Notre Dame beating Georgia. Georgia has been up and down all year long. And with how good Notre Dame is up front and the issues that Georgia has had on that side of football, I kind of would lean Notre Dame in a game like that. Notre Dame is one of those teams that, depending on the matchup in the first round, depends on how far they could go in the playoffs. As long as they can avoid Ohio State, Oregon, I don't think there's a single game you could say Notre Dame doesn't have a shot at being able to win. Like, they have to play Penn State on the road. They would easily win that game because both Penn State and Notre Dame are kind of the exact same team. Drew Aller is a slightly better quarterback than what Riley Leonard is, but the issue with Penn State is kind of the same issue that Notre Dame has. They don't really have a lot of dynamic playmakers on offense, and particularly the wide receiver position, but they do have a bunch of great tight ends. Penn State has one tight end. Notre Dame seems to have like 2 or 3 of them. I was watching that USC game earlier, and they had tight ends making all kinds of crazy plays. Moss and folks, you feel me? Really good runners after the catch. Like, Notre Dame is one of those teams that they have their identity. And their identity is not flashy. It's not impressive. It's not nothing that catches your eyes on the stat sheet. But they play true to who they are. And at this point, you should have identity. And their identity, playing great defense, you know, running the football down your throat, saying that we're just going to out-muscle you up front. I think it's a good formula for a lot of teams like Tennessee that are reliant on good quarterback play. I could see Notre Dame making it to the second round of the playoffs. Could they make it to the Final Four? Possibly, but it just depends on who they run into. And was I a little bit wrong about Notre Dame? Just a little bit. You know, like, one thing about Notre Dame is that they're one of those teams that gets overhated a lot. I've always respected the tradition, the pageantry of that Notre Dame program. If you were to rank the top 10 programs in college football over the last decade, Notre Dame would have to be in that top 10. They don't have the playoff success or any national championships, but they have consistently been in the conversation. You know, they've been in New Year's Six bowl games. They've been in playoff games. They've been in the national championship. You know, with the team they have this year, this may be the best team that they've ever had, because for once, they're not going to be going into these games where they're at a huge disadvantage up front from a talent standpoint. I was listening to Manti Te'o, who was on that Notre Dame team that got dominated by Alabama in the BCS National Championship. And he said that as soon as they saw Alabama come out of that tunnel and he saw the size differential between them and Notre Dame, he knew they were in trouble. But this year, though, Notre Dame has all kinds of cyborgs and freakish athletes on that defense. And I really believe that defense makes them a dangerous team come playoff time.